looking at a compulsion, you don't know. A compulsion could be a million things. An easy assumption, and a lot of people do assume these things, is that person, those people are afraid of germs. And, the treatment should be learning how to touch doorknobs, and, they're obviously afraid of getting sick. But what if that was not true? And in fact, making these assumptions by the bottom, looking at the bottom of the pyramid that we're talking about, and just looking at the compulsions is like looking at a fever and saying, oh, they must have the measles, or looking at a fever and being like, they definitely have COVID. You don't know. A fever is a fever. It could be a million things. Looking at a compulsion, you don't know. A compulsion could be a million things. So maybe the first person in that example has the core fear. So you can see now by just looking at the surface of the compulsion and three different people doing the exact same compulsion, how vastly different therapy will be, exposures will be, and how you approach it. And we can sprinkle in exposures around the fear of throwing up. We're not going to dive into that today as far as how you do exposures, but getting your understanding of why the core fear is so powerful and how not knowing it, and sometimes even therapists do not know this or even explore it, can really impact the effectiveness of ERP, which is exposure response prevention, which is the go-to evidence-based therapy approach for OCD. And when you're doing exposures, which is systematically triggering OCD on purpose, if you don't know the trigger and you don't know the core fear driving it all, it's going to water down exposures and it's going to make them less effective. And a core fear also helps us as parents and us help our kids see that even though all those compulsions can feel so overwhelming, and it's so disappointing when the OCD themes shift and change, it can feel like all your progress is for nothing because now, boom, you got another theme. But when you understand this triangle, that the core fear is dominating everything, and that, yeah, these things will change, but the core fear is the thing you're targeting. When you understand that, there's less overwhelm and disappointment when those OCD themes shift and change and those compulsions shift and change.